Բարև ձեզ շերի հայրենակիցներ, ես դոկտոր Ֆրիդա Ջորդանն եմ, ոսկրածոցի դոնորների հիմնադրամի նախագահ։ Ես շատ հպարտ եմ, որ այսօր մենք առիթ ունենք մեր շատ լավ բարեկամների մեկի հետ հարցազրույց ունենանք եւ այս այն հաստատության ներկայացուցիչն է, որ 15 տարի է, որ մենք իրենց հետ ենք աշխատում եւ դա Glendale Memorial հիվանդանոցն է։ Մեր շատ սրտին մոտ հիվանդանոցը, մեր շատ մոտից գործակիցն է եւ ինչպես իմանում եք, տարբեր առիթներով մեզի հովանավորում են, հատկապես մեր տարեկան վաքթանն են հովանավորում եւ տարբեր մեր ձեռնարկները, որից նաեւ մեր տարեկան ճաշկերույթը գալան է լինում։ Ես այսօր հատուկ հրավիրել եմ հարցազրույց ունենանք իրենց պրեզիդենտի հետ եւ իրենց գործադիր տնօրենի հետ, պարոն Ջեք Այվին է, որ երկար տարիներ փորձառություն ունի, 35 տարուց ավել փորձառություն ունի առողջապահական մարզի մեջ եւ հատկապես այնտեղ administration-ի բաժնի մեջ եւ շատ հպարտ ենք, որ ինքը եկավ եւ այս հիվանդանոցի պաշտոնատարությունը վերցրեց եւ այսօր նաեւ մենք շատ մոտքից համագործակցում ենք այս հիվանդանոցի եւ հատկապես իրենց հետ։ Ես դժբախտաբար պետք է անգլերենով այս հարցազրույցը շարունակեմ եւ շատ հույս ունեմ, որ շատ միասին մոտքից կարող ենք իրարու հետևենք։ Ուրեմն after a long introduction, thank you so much for coming, Mr. Ivy. I introduce you as our very close friend of Armenian Bone Marrow Donor Registry. The hospital has been instrumental in building up the registry, and no matter during the 15 years of our operation, no matter what administration we had to work with, they all have been very supportive, and we are so grateful that we have such a close partners like Glendale Memorial. Mr. Ivy, I just want you to talk about, because when you came into this new position at Glendale Memorial, I clearly remember that we had a long interview, we had a long chat, and then what was your impression? Because you have heard so many times about Armenian Bone Marrow Donor Registry, but then when we talked, I think you had made up your mind whether you want to continue with the support of the project or not.
We were talking a little bit before the show that you've gone through 4 administrations here, but I think first I wanted to mention that this is actually the 15th anniversary of the Armenian Bone Marrow Transplant Registry. I don't know if it's formally this month, but it is 15 years right now, and I think you and I talked, it was 4 administrations through that. But it was sort of a very simple decision to keep going with that linkage right now. Now, I'm not a physician by training or background. I'm more a formal administrator and did some physical therapy back in the 1970s. But when I heard about this program, and Dave Moss is our Director of Business Development, and he's been here a number of years and worked closely with you.
Yes, and he also is our board member.
Yes, he's been on your board for a number of years.
That's
and
right.
I had a sense of the legacy on this. It was not just sort of continuing our mission to reaching out to the more broader community, but this is sort of a pioneering effort, because I know when you go into bone marrow, the tissue typing that you have to go through this, it's been difficult in the Armenian culture to use the traditional bone marrow registries that are out there. So this began, I think, with one patient in Armenia back 15 years ago.
That's right.
And I think you pioneered that with a physician back home. And I think, even though I'm not a physician, one of the things I know for sure, that one of the biggest successes for people that have blood cancers, certain types of blood cancers, is if you can have actually a bone marrow transplant match, the survival rates have been exponentially increased over the years.
That is correct.
So the treatment modality is extremely important here. And I think the other interesting thing I've learned, I learned some of this from your literature and visiting with you, is that only about 25% of the people can actually come up with a genetic tissue match for bone marrow within their own family structure.
That's
and when
correct.
you can't, you almost have to look for that anonymous donor with that special genetic profile. So what this organization has built over 15 years is somewhat amazing to me, and it's sustained right now. So that was why it's a somewhat of an exciting program. And then given obviously the large Armenian population in Glendale, to outreach and connect with such an important segment of the community was sort of another reason that we wanted, just how do we continue the tradition?
Absolutely. And when we started, and I remember clearly when I presented the project to Glendale Memorial Hospital, we didn't envisage that this project is not only for Armenians, but it's also for non-Armenians. It's a global project. And I'm very happy to say that the beneficiary of these projects have been more non-Armenians, because we have more non-Armenian patients that we found a match, and also Armenians. So, and then we had patients from Italian background, we have patients from German backgrounds, from Greece, and all over the world. So Glendale Memorial has been sponsoring a project which has an international humanitarian value, as well as the community, Armenian
Well, that's what's been
value.
Exciting about it, because of the international touch point. So it's not just here. And you sort of travel the world doing this.
Absolutely,
but,
yes.
It's been fun. We've also had a lot of support from your staff, whether I know there's a lot of outreach events that we've had where we have the walk, and at other times I know you've done things all around the country here too. Plus there's the other traditional dinner fundraiser that we've been involved in. So we've connected, and actually some of your staff members were actually at a table with us at the Armenian Christmas
yes.
just less than a month ago.
Yes.
And so we have other ways that we attach and connect with your organization throughout the year.
Yeah. And we are so proud to share your table and be your guest. And it's been Glendale Memorial is being part of Armenian Bone Marrow Donor Registry. It's like being a mentor in many ways, and also we get a very good guidance from the administration how to go forward with our marketing and everything else. And David Moss has been so close. And we usually have our very, very interesting meetings, breakfast meetings.
You have those that, plus we tend to start when we do the annual walk locally,
Absolutely,
we start that right on the hospital campus, and then head through the community of Glendale too.
We used to do it, start from the park, but then when we started from Glendale Memorial and we came back to Glendale Memorial, it had a different impact. It had a more community impact. People loved it, and I'm so happy to say that on May 3rd of this year, 2014, again, we are starting from Glendale Memorial, doing our walk and coming back to Glendale Memorial, and we are so happy that you again sponsoring the walk and opening the hospital doors and hospital heart to our project again.
Well, I think, and the other comment on this is what's happening with sort of hospitals throughout the country is you don't want to just focus on people that have come to the hospital where they have medical conditions where they need to be in a hospital. Yes. We're really trying to outreach more to the community from a health status and a health connection standpoint. And that's why having the walk on our campus, having this long-term history with the Bone Marrow Transplant Network is important for us. But also you'll do some screenings at the walk that we're having here too. Yeah. So the visibility just keeps growing every year.
Yes,
and then sometimes you've had celebrities have helped you with that too. Everything you can do to keep the visibility of this whole effort. And
also, it's I have been a patient of the hospital long time ago. But what is very important, and what I keep telling to my friends and colleagues, that this hospital has got a very, very specific, very high standard focus points, and one of them is the heart center. Then recently I'm so happy to hear that it's got also cancer, colorectal cancer center, and also the breast screening, which is my favorite part and my whole family's favorite part, that we go there every year and we get such a nice family atmosphere treatment, which is excellent. And the point is very important is that when you have an emergency, when you are a critical patient, you have to go to your community hospital. Otherwise, it will be too late if you drive 1 hour down to go somewhere else. So it is very important for our compatriots know that the hospital that is down the road, it's got such a good specializations in different fields, and they can be taken care of very nicely.
You know, the hospital's been here since 1926, and it's somewhat unique, but I was actually at the hospital, in not the president, but an administrative role from 1980 to 1991. And that was the first era where I think the broader Armenian community population began to grow quite a bit in town. Then I come back here less than a year and a half ago, and I think obviously we have a large Armenian community that we serve, but several programs we have at the hospital, we've had the heart center tradition for several decades right now, and that's everything from people that need open heart surgery to we actually have a special certified program that if people come into our emergency department and they're able to do a quick diagnostic check, that if you have a heart attack that's evolving, we have what's called a STEMI center, and a STEMI center means that if they identify that patient, we have the cardiologist on call, and within 90 minutes, which is a special timeline, you'll be in our heart catheterization laboratory, and they'll open up any of the vessels in your heart that are narrowing, that are causing that chest pain. So it's really a life-saving program.
Absolutely.
And then we've had the breast cancer center that you mentioned. Marcia Ray was her husband was a long-term board member of her hospital. She ended up having breast cancer, has passed on years ago now, but they made a big donation. So we do have that breast screening center right now. And sometimes when people identify that there's suspicion on that mammogram test, we can quickly end up doing what they call a biopsy to look at tissue to see if it's a cancer lesion or not. So that's some way to get an answer to a person very quickly, because when you have that possible diagnosis, it's very nerve-wracking. And one of our latest programs we've worked on, and this is another reason we've kind of broadened to go out to the community, we've actually worked with the USC University Hospital, and we've expanded our program for people that have strokes or evolving strokes. And now if they come into our emergency department and they can identify a stroke that may be evolving, we actually have the USC neurology faculty, and they work with us, and there's certain treatments they can do in certain types of strokes to intervene right at the emergency department. Then you're admitted to the hospital, and you may end up going into our acute rehabilitation unit.
I think those are extremely important for our community to know, that that is the kind of services they can get. And the other thing is, which makes your hospital different from the others, your very friendly team of volunteers. You are the only hospital that when somebody walks in, they don't get lost. There is always a very warm, welcoming volunteer sitting at the entrance, and they are really willing to take you to the elevator. You know, you don't see that in any other hospital.
Well, one thing we're lucky on, our campus is actually the first building was 1926, but we have obviously the buildings we've added on over the years. But one of the things I've heard, particularly from a lot of our senior population, and there's a lot of senior Armenian population because either they came first or they followed younger family that comes over here. So we have a lot of seniors, but they found the nice part, you come into our hospital, you hit that first floor lobby, and we're just an 8-story tower. So it's a lot easier to get up and down and find your patient. And actually a lot of our doctors love it they're busy and in a hurry sometimes, so they park and it's just up 8 floors or down, and you see your patients.
That's it. I mean, that makes it so nice and, reachable, everywhere that you go.